weekend, but we've got a pretty good turnout today. So hopefully we'll get some good networking in. If you haven't been on our Zoom call before, please feel free to use the chat box. I already put my contact information in there, so you can use that to ask questions, put down your contact information, share information, whatever you like. If you want to ask questions while we're doing the presentation, you're more than welcome to do that. If you'd rather just put them in the chat box, we can address them later. That's fine as well. It's pretty open, nothing real formal going on today. So welcome. This is our real estate virtual networking event that we've been doing ever since COVID-19 shut us down. So we miss our happy hours and our live events and all that a lot, but we're doing the best we can with what we have. So for those of you that didn't hear me earlier, Zoom apparently is having a little bit of technical difficulties today because of all the schools opening today for the first time. So if we do have technical difficulties and it becomes overbearing, then we may just have to call it a day and reschedule. But right now it looks like everything's working okay. So just real quick, a little bit about Noble Mortgage. If you're not familiar with us, we are a direct hard money lender. We also offer conventional and bank lending programs for both residential and commercial lending. We have over 50 years of collective mortgage experience, backed all by our 5-point guarantee, which are customer service items, which if you look on our Google reviews, you'll see we have excellent reviews. We're really big on customer service. So today's agenda, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start off with allowing everybody to introduce themselves. Take a minute or so to tell us your name, what you do in real estate, if you're new or if you're not, what is it you're doing, and anything you'd like to share, more than welcome to do that. And then after we get through everybody, and we'll try to get through everybody as quickly as we can, but as people come on, we'll have to add more on at the end. If I forget you, please speak up. If I didn't see your name that you had joined at later time, please speak up. And then we'll get on to Cameron Tope, who's going to talk about property management. Should you be doing it yourself or should you be hiring an expert? So again, you're more than welcome to ask questions throughout. Can I have my list? So let's get started with our presentations. We will start with AJ Baskar. AJ, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So yeah, I mostly do like single family homes in Collin and Denton County. Pretty much, and that's my main focus. So
okay, great. Are you flipping or buying and holding, or
just mostly buying and holding, very limited flipping? So
okay, great. Thank you for joining us. How about Alex Rocha?
Hey Darel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So hey everybody, my name's Alex. I'm literally brand new to real estate investing, and I'm just here to meet some people, expand my network, and try to, get in the game here. But yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Alex, and welcome to the world of real estate.
Thanks.
Then we have Amy, I can't pronounce this last name, Kakolis?
Kakolis. No, you're good.
I was pretty close.
You're good. My name is Amy Kakolis with Amy Kakolis Photography, and I photograph real estate and as well as commercial properties. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Amy. How about Benny Belvin?
Hi, good morning, guys. My name is Benny Belvin. Full-time, I'm a superintendent in the Air Force, but I have buy and hold just a few deals under my belt, and just joining here trying to increase my portfolio.
Awesome. Thank you, Benny. Thanks for joining us. How about Brianna Peralta?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brianna. I'm a real estate investor, lifestyle member. I really like these little network meetings and these educational platforms. So I'm just here to learn as much as I can and hear from everyone on this networking event.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. We love our lifestyle investors. We've been working with them for, gosh, 15, 16 years now. Let's see. How about Brisby? Brisby, you with us? Okay, we'll try to come back to him. How about Charity?
Hello.
Hi, Charity.
Hey, me and my husband are buy and hold investors, and we're in Arkansas, so we're your neighbors and maybe wanting to get into Texas sometime. So
awesome. What part of Arkansas are you in?
Harrison. It's about 2.5 hours from Little Rock and 30 minutes from Branson, Missouri. So at the top.
Okay, awesome. I love Arkansas. I always tell people Arkansas is one of the best kept secrets in the country. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
state.
natural state. So
Yeah, very, very pretty.
thank you.
How about Francisco Cortez? Francisco, are you with us? Okay, how about Joella Phillip?
Well, hey, let me start my video. Okay, can you see me? Not
Yeah.
yet.
Can y'all see
Hi,
it?
guys. My name's Joella, and I have interior design background. So what I do is I help stage homes, and I also have a Numilux exterior home lighting system I'm trying to get pushed to the market. So what that is your home number being backlit with LED lighting concepts.
So tell me again, what is that again?
It's called Numilux. And so say you live at 8509 Gardendale Lane, your lovely address number will be able to be seen visually when people are driving up to your home at nighttime.
Oh, that's cool. That'll help with all the Uber Eats I order.
Yeah, or the Domino's pizza.
That's cool. I love that idea. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, how about Liz Hollebeck? Liz, you with us? No. Okay, how about Ramon Barron?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Ramon Baron, and yeah, I do real estate investing on the side with my husband, kind of part-time. Started out land flipping, and now we've just purchased a fixer-upper that we're working on.
Awesome. Good for you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
How about Rebecca Rodriguez? Rebecca, you with us? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
To be here, E320 Investments have done REOs. I prefer buy and hold, have a couple of mobile home parks. Right now, I'm in the midst of a seller finance for a primary residence starter home, if anyone knows anyone. I would love a lead for a subject to property in the Hill Country. That's what I hope to get out of today's networking event. And of course, learning, as others have mentioned. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Rebecca. How about Ro? Ro, you here today?
Yes, I am. Hi, Darel. Can you hear me?
Hi, nice to see you again. Good.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, guys. My name is Ro, and I have been in real estate for over 10 years. My husband and I are mainly landlords, so we invest on buy and hold. And just like Ramon, we're always in the look for opportunities to add properties to our rental portfolio, mainly on the northwest side of town. Thank you.
Thanks, Ro. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Darel. Thanks for the invitation.
Let's see. Let's go with Shayna.
Hey everyone, I'm Shayna Cavalieri. I'm from Maine. We're in Westbrook, Maine. Brand new to real estate. We have a duplex here that we're heavy into the construction phase. We're trying to get it rental ready for probably September 2021. Learning a ton and excited to be here. And yeah, we're REI Dream Team on Instagram if anybody is following us already. But yeah, very excited and brand new to it. So we're just learning every way we can.
I figured you weren't in Texas since you're sitting outside and not sweating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually meteorologically fall in Maine already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Lucky
But it's
you.
beautiful out. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Steve and Russell. Steve, you with us again?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey,
good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Stephen Russell, and I've been investing since 2003, landlording. In 2010, me and my brother, Rick, and my nephew started Russ Corp. And we've done probably 300 or 400 houses. We lost count a long time ago. A lot of houses, a lot of landlord houses, a lot of flipping, a lot of rehabs. Our biggest thing right now is we're doing a lot of education. And we teach all over town, and we do a lot of virtual teaching. I'm going to leave a little information in the chat box. We've got a very good coaching program that we put together that's starting now. So if somebody is looking for a mentor or coach, I definitely give me a drop, and I'll be glad to talk to you. Thanks for having me, and always learn something every time I come to these things.
I was in, but for some reason.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Good to see you as always, Steve.
Always. Thank you.
Who is it? Rusty? Rusty, you with us? Rusty Lamb? No? How about, I don't know how to pronounce this name. It's T-H-U-Y. Toy? Mai? Are you with us? Is there anybody else that joined late?
Yes, Stuart Benton.
Stuart Benson?
Benton.
Benton? Fenton, sorry. Stuart Fenton, you with us? Did I forget anybody? Did anybody join late that we haven't called on yet? We had a couple of people join. All we have is a phone number, not a name. So if you would like to introduce yourself, by all means. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll get started then. Thank you guys. And don't forget to share your information in the chat box if you'd like, or anything you would like to share in that chat box. You're more than welcome to do that if you want to ask questions as we go along to either myself or to Cameron. So we're going to turn over to Cameron. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here in just a second, but Cameron owns a property management company, and he's going to be talking about should you be a landlord or hire a property management company, which is a great topic. We get these questions all the time, especially from people that are buying and holding. And so there's a lot that goes into it. So I will let Cameron take it away. You can share your screen now, Cameron. I've unshared mine.
Okay, let's see here. Share. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Yep.
Perfect. Darel, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. You know, a big topic that comes up, like Darel mentioned, especially with folks who get into real estate, who are trying to create long-term wealth, or you know, hear about maybe wanting to quit their job or leave their job and take control of their time. You know, buy and hold real estate's a big piece or component of that. And when you get in, you know, you don't know what you don't know. But I would say for the majority of folks who are getting into the buy and hold game, start out managing yourself. And that's probably counterintuitive for what most property managers would tell you. But you learn so much that you just can't read in books. I read plenty of books on it, but when you get on the phone with a tenant that's got a problem, there's no amount of information that you can have until you go through that and you start creating your systems. So for most folks, you know, maybe you get 1, 2, 3 houses. I think this guide is going to be the most beneficial thing for you. This is kind of what I put together to help that type of investor. Now, once you get above the 3 to 5 range and it start becoming more time intensive, you might want to look to professional property management. But you know, I'm of the opinion that once you know that information, then you can, you know, train your property manager. So once you go through with 1, 2, 3 houses, you get all that information down, then you can have that educated discussions with your property manager on how to effectively manage your property, the expectations. You're not really surprised because you know what things cost or about there and how things should be handled. So this presentation or this guide, and we have this for free. So if you guys can't see it or have issues with it, just go to our website at emersonpropertymanagement.com and go to the owners section, and you can see it on downloadable guides. There's a handful of them on there, but this will be one that I think will be most pertinent to you guys. There's some others about questions to ask your property manager and finding the right rental property for you. But you guys can download this for free, no emails, nothing, just valuable information for these buy and hold investors. So I'm just going to walk through this. This is 10 tips. You know, we have, there we go, 10 tips. And again, if you guys want some more details or can't see it, just go on to our website at emersonpropertymanagement.com and you can download this for free. So the first, you need to educate yourself on the property code, and that is easy. It's Texas Property Code Chapter 91 and 92, and there's links in this guide for you to be able to access that. It's dry reading. It's not great fun reading, but it definitely has a lot of valuable information that I think is extremely helpful, especially if you're going to be self-managing. There's things that you need to know, like time frames for fixing repairs, when AC goes out, Can you shut off your tenant's utilities, if they don't pay rent? The answer is no. But stuff like that is in that property code, chapter 91 and 92. One of the other extremely helpful pieces of information in this, or a guide that they put together, was the Landlord and Tenants Guide Special Report 866. A couple guys from A&M and Real Estate Gurus put that together and kind of condensed the property code into this more user-friendly, or I would say reader-friendly guide, or implementing for us long-term buy and hold investors. So definitely get on there. If you read the property codes, chapter 91, 92, and then look at that tenant guide special report 866, you'll have way more knowledge than the majority of other buy and hold investors out there. And that'll tell you kind of the do's and don'ts. Before we go on.
Quick question, Cameron. How long is that property code, like if someone were to read it, and how often do they update it?
Yeah, so I believe they do it very frequently. I'm not 100% sure on how if it's yearly or biannually, but that property code, you guys just go to those links and they'll update it on there. They'll refresh it. Especially some of you guys might be, agents, so you might be licensed. You'll have to take some of these classes that'll have those in there for you and keep those updated. The continuing education guide, the 866 special report is several hundred pages. So Control F to find what information you're looking for is definitely going to be a helpful piece. But it is a lot of material, but it breaks it down in sections. And if you guys are looking for something specific, that will definitely help you out as well.
It's probably good reading if you can't fall asleep, I imagine.
100%. It's dry. But just, like Darel asked, if you guys have any questions, this is just a conversation. I want to help you guys out. So we'll just talk through this. But if you have something, type in the chat or ask Darel and we'll talk about it. I'm not just going to present here. If you guys want to veer off or talk about something else, please let us know. So the second point, and you guys may or may not have heard this. I don't know if you're big on bigger pockets, but Brandon Turner and the guys always talk about you're not the owner. That's one thing. So even if you're not the property, you don't have a property manager and you're doing your own property management, you're the property manager for the owner. Now they can get on and look at, the HCAD and find who owns the property, but it just, it's so much easier to have discussions when you say, let me discuss it with the owner. Let me see what the owner says. I'm just managing the property for the owner, and you technically are managing the property. So, you just say you're the property manager, and that can create some barriers and allow you to, if you're not 100% sure on what the answer is, or maybe you're getting uncomfortable with the situation, you just say, hey, let me discuss it with the owner. Give me some time, give me a day. And then you guys can go research it on the, chapter 91 and 92 and the landlord tenant guide and find that information for you. So that gives you guys some flexibility if you say you're not the owner. As you guys go through and, you have one property and you start realizing your do's and don'ts, you want to start writing things down, policies and procedures. They don't have to be anything fancy, but when you guys have a tenant move out or move in, or an eviction or things like that, start writing down what you do. So when you have it happen again, you just go to that page, and you can do it simply in Google Docs. It's all free. You can update it live. And if you want to share it with somebody, you can do that and kind of interact on Google Docs. So it's very user-friendly, but it doesn't have to be complicated, but you have to have something down. I can't remember what I did, over the last few weeks, especially during COVID with everything starting to blend together, let alone when you had a tenant who moved in a year ago. Can you remember, are you going to be able to remember that this tile was already cracked, or that the blinds were broken? So write some things down and have that written so that when that comes up again, you guys can follow the same process. Number 4, be ready to enforce. So once you guys have these policies and procedures, don't be afraid to say, hey guys, to the tenants, you're getting, this is the part of the lease that you need to be following. Here's what you're breaking. In the lease, it says there's a $25, $35 fee, whether that's a late fee or whatever. You need to enforce that. One of the big reasons is you have to have a lease that is clear and detailed, And if you don't, and you start letting tenants slide, then they'll think, well, if they slide on the daily late fee, or they don't enforce that, then maybe they won't enforce this. And next thing you know, when you go into court, you have a judge that's looking at it and says, well, you didn't instate late fees before, or you didn't do an HOA fee before, and you didn't say I had to pay for this before, and you let me slide, so why are you doing it now? And so it can create a lot of headaches. Just enforce the lease, have a conversation with them beforehand and say, hey, here's everything, high points on late fees, when rent's due, and any fees that you do in state. If the tenant doesn't change utilities out of their name when they move out, stuff like that, that'll help already. I've found a lot of times the tenants, once you copy the part of the lease that says what you're talking about or the fees, they usually don't have any issues because it's right there in black and white and they signed it. So as long as you have that stuff written down, and again, that kind of goes back to the first one, you'll get those policies and procedures down. You'll write that down. You'll beef up your lease and just be ready to enforce that. If you guys do have an eviction or have to go through that route, I always hire professionals. I don't do my own attorney work. I don't do my own taxes. I always hire professionals to do it. I wouldn't hire a friend to be my doctor. There's just things that you don't want to do yourself. So we actually use Texas Eviction. There's no affiliate or anything, but they have attorneys who do thousands and thousands of evictions. So you can go on there, check them out. Again, there's no affiliate there at all, but we have just found that they are very user-friendly and they'll work with us. So if you guys are used to doing your own property management and start running into some issues, you can talk with them, get a hold of them, and they'll kind of walk you through the process. Be ready to fork out $500, but if the tenant stays in your property 2 weeks or an extra 4 weeks, it will pay for itself. Does anybody have any questions?
Cameron, since you're talking on evictions, let's touch base on that real quick. So what is the, I keep seeing all these headlines, no evictions are allowed right now. And so is that still going on? How long is it going to be extended till? Where are we at right now with that?
Good question, Darrell. So I think the headline is, no evictions, nobody can do evictions. And it gets people frightened. You want to watch, you want to pay attention, but there are certain stipulations to that. So the tenants have to show that they have hardship due to COVID-19. So they either have lost their job, maybe they've had COVID and they can't go anywhere. And there's a couple other bits and pieces that they actually have to show that that they are indeed suffering due to COVID-19 and not just because they don't want to pay their rent. So this isn't just a get out of jail free card or get out of eviction free card. This is extended until December 31st. And the courts, or at least what came out in the paperwork that has been, as the last one I read a week ago, has been that all late fees or any other fees that you guys have will still go into effect and the tenants are still responsible. So even if the tenant does prove that they have issues due to COVID-19, exhausted all their options, and that them paying their rent is a severe hardship, then they will still, after December 31st, have to pay all that back plus late fees and other fees or late charges that you guys might have. So it's not a get out of jail free card. Don't freak out about that. There are certain stipulations, and thankfully, we try to educate our tenants. So when COVID first hit, we immediately sent out notices on here's things for applying for your unemployment. Here's how to get your $1,200 stimulus check, all that stuff, so that they knew ahead of time and knew what they could and couldn't do. So these are things that we try to share with our tenants. And to date, including today, up through September, we have collected 100% of rents. So we don't have any tenants that are behind.
Wow, that's incredible. I heard it wasn't that much, but I'm surprised you have 100%. That's great.
100%. We try to work with tenants on a payment plan first, Darrell. So it's like, we had a tenant who was a massage therapist. Now, she obviously could not work. She just wasn't allowed.
Sure.
We waited. She was getting her stimulus check, and we just created a payment plan so that she could get a lower rent this month, and then next month it will be higher. And she's paid up to date. We had a couple other things like that where we adjusted payment plans, had a signed payment plan, and have collected literally 100% of rents to date.
That's great. Good.
Does anybody have any other questions about evictions? That comes up a lot, and I think You know, I just did a video on evictions for folks with a friend of mine. And it's a big, scary thing. I think a lot of new investors are like, ooh, I don't want to do an eviction, but it's literally the fastest legal way to get a tenant out. It's what the courts say, how you should get a tenant out of the property. So don't be too intimidated by it. Just read up on it, understand the information. And like I said, if you don't want to do it yourself, and I don't do it myself, we use Texas Eviction. I'm sure there's 100 other companies. I have no affiliate with them. That's just who we've used and we like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you should hire someone to do that. It's just like when we have foreclosures, I don't do it myself. I have my attorney do it, because
exactly
you have to dot your I's and cross your T's and know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't put the notice to vacate on the inside of the door and you put it on the outside, and you don't have the right verbiage on there and you don't take a picture, then you start back at square one when you get to court. And then it's like, now you've just wasted 10, 14, 21 days. It really is worth the money. And really, it doesn't happen frequently, especially if you guys have a robust screening process. And we'll talk about that here on some of the next steps. Okay. So contractors, again, maintenance is probably one of the most important pieces in your long-term buy and hold, because, the old saying, you make your money when you buy, that's true. But I've seen a lot of properties be run down from tenants or just from owners' neglect. So, you can let a water, we had a faucet that was leaking for several months that got underneath the subfloor, or got underneath the floor and had rotted out all the subfloor. It had been going on months and months and months. And that was several $1,000s. Had to do all new floors, new tile. There's stuff like that adds up. If you're not doing the preventative maintenance and you don't have good contractors to help you out, that stuff definitely could bite you in the rear end. So look for referrals. Just a couple tips. Look for referrals. You get on Angie's List or Home Advisor, or contact a property management company. We have our contractor list. I have no problem helping you guys out if there's a couple contractors you need. Again, no affiliate or anything, but if you guys need somebody, that's why, stuff like Darel's doing with these networking events. I've been going to these for a long time, because you meet so many great people and you find the people who are doing what you want to do, and you just talk to them. And Darel's got a great network of folks, and that's why there's guys in here who have been here for 10, 15, 20 years who are still networking, because you're always building that list of folks, these experts. So definitely find some contractors, and like I said, there's a handful of ways to do that. So number 6, get a basic property management software. We use Buildium. It's expensive if you only have a couple properties, but there are plenty of other free options out there. You have like Appfolio and Cozy and Tenant Cloud. Those are really going to help you with bookkeeping and kind of streamline some of the rent payments and things that you have to do. I'm not sure on what some of the other softwares do, but Buildium helps us out extensively, and it is expensive. We do a lot of the tenant screening and stuff through there, but you guys just have a basic one that allows you to collect online rent payments. And here's a tip. If you guys find a software that automatically does late fees for you, it will save you so many hours of time trying to go back and, well, the tenant paid on the 3rd, they were supposed to be charged $50, or now they paid on the 5th. We need to add another $10 or $25 a day for that. And then you try to get it from the tenant, they say no, and you argue. If you can get a software that does that automatically, you'll save yourself hours. And really, in the late fees, the software might pay for itself. Just if you guys have trouble, some people have trouble having that, uncomfortable discussion with the tenant that they paid late, you owe us an extra $50 or $100. So a property management software can kind of eliminate that.
What was the name of the one you use again?
We use Buildium, Buildium, Buildium.
And what does that run?
Well, it bases on how many units you have. So I think the free version or the lowest tier was like $100 a month, and then it just goes up from there.
Okay.
But again, that's what I'm saying, Darel. If if you're making $200, $300 a month cash flow on a good rental property, you don't want to pay 30% or 50% of your profits to one software. So, you'd look for the Tenant Cloud or maybe one of the Cozy. And I haven't used those. Those are just ones that are out there that I've heard people use that are good. So those are ones that I'd look into. The next is the accounting. So accounting and bookkeeping is another important piece. Again, if your property management software does that for you, that can become extremely helpful. And ours does, and I'm not sure about some of these other softwares, but your software can kind of eliminate or streamline some of this. A couple points I'd like to make on accounting and bookkeeping. So some people think that you need an LLC when you own a property to be able to write off and deduct expenses. That is not true at all. So you don't need an LLC. Your rental properties pass through to your personal tax return. So your 1040, you'll get a Schedule E. And that's just fancy speak for saying basically you file these deductions that you get for the rental property pass through to you personally. So you don't need an LLC. You can have one for liability. That's different. But just to deduct expenses, you don't need that. The other tip and big thing, guys, is if you take an hour or 2 hours and set up just your personal bank account or a business bank account for the property, it will save you hours and hours on accounting. And if you do your own accounting or bookkeeping, it will save you hours and hours. And when you go to your accountant at the end of the year to show them all the income and expenses, if you have it all in one account, it makes it so easy. You can open a credit card on that account and have everything just run right through that one account for the property. That will make things, like I said, I can't stress that enough. It streamlines so many things. The only other account you'll need is a trust account. So you just open one for your expenses for your property and one for a trust account to hold the security deposit. I just can't stress that enough. If you guys have some questions about what to deduct, I'm not going to be the guy to tell you that, but this box right here with the expenses, this is from actually the government, the IRS. Here's a link for you. It will show you all the categories on what expenses you can deduct and how to categorize those on your Schedule E. So that's very useful information when you guys are looking to break out expenses. And again, we hire accountants to do that stuff. Like Darel said, we use professionals, so they already know all that. But if you're doing it yourself, there's a couple bits and pieces of information that'll help you out.
Hey, Cameron, we do have a question here from Stuart. He's asking, if we are about to start a new lease, should we get them to predate/sign and eviction paperwork?
I don't, if you're signing a new lease, is he talking about a renewal, I guess, Darel?
He says, if we are about to start a new lease, should we get them to predate/sign and eviction paperwork?
Oh, so trying to, I guess, get ahead of if they think they're going to have to evict them?
I don't know. Stuart said first-time renter. Stuart, chime in verbally if you can so we can understand exactly what you're asking.
Yeah.
He said it was a first-time renter.
Yeah, if you can't, I've never heard of that, Darel. I don't think any judge is going to have predated paperwork that's going to work out.
Yes, I got a new tenant that I'm going to put in a property on the 1st of the month. And I thought of two things, whether to call their employer to see if, make sure that they're going to be good to go for the next 90 days at least. Mm-hmm. I'm getting a 2-month security deposit. And I just want to know if I could legally get them to sign and not date it eviction paperwork if we have to go that route.
No, so the way the eviction process works is you're going to have to wait a few days for non-payment of rent. So if it's due on the 1st, now Texas Property Code last year, all leases as of 2019, September 2019, you have to give a 3-day grace before you start installing late fees. So on the 3rd or 4th, you'll want to send the notice to vacate, and then you have to wait. It's a 3-day notice to vacate, excluding holidays and weekends. So it'll basically be only business days, and then you'll have to do to file the eviction. So you can't really jump start the notice to vacate. If there's no notice to vacate before the paperwork's signed, that a judge is going to throw that out. I mean, they throw stuff out for wrong verbiage. So trying to predate an eviction paperwork, I don't think that's gonna fly.
It doesn't sound like Stuart has a lot of confidence in this tenant. He's asking.
Yeah, I get more than 2 months.
I need you to sign this pre-eviction notice before you even move in.
3-month security deposit.
Yeah, Stuart, I think getting the extra security deposit is definitely going to help you out there. But we always go through and get the last 2 pay stubs to make sure that they actually do have the job they say they do. We talk to their employer. We have some very standard questions. You don't want to get into anything personal, but if the worry is that they're going to lose their job, then that conversation or a few questions with the employer should handle that.
Got it. Thanks.
No problem, man.
There's another question here, Cameron. From Rebecca, she says, is a trust account always necessary no matter how many properties one manages?
So so in Texas, you have to have a license if you manage for somebody else. So if you manage your property for another individual or manage a property for another individual, you have to be licensed. If you're licensed in the state of Texas, due to all the ethics and compliance rules and regulations, you have to have a trust account. So if you're doing it for yourself, you can probably get away with it. It's just good. If you have really good books, you don't really have to worry about it. But some people look in their bank account and they say, wow, I've got $5,000 in there. And well, 4,500 is, your 3 properties security deposits, and they spin down. And then when the tenant moves out, all tenants move out at the same time, and you have to come up with that money. You don't want to have to be scraping and robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically. So if you do manage for somebody else, you're licensed, you have to have a trust account.
Yeah, if someone's here a nightmare story, I actually had a property manager do that to me one time. She was managing my properties, and I didn't get the rent. I didn't get the payment from her. And so I contacted her, and she was kind of like ignoring me for a while. And finally, she just confessed and said, yeah, I spent the money. I'm like, huh? What do you mean you spent the money? It was my money.
Yeah, and that's why they put it in a trust account, Darel. This is technically the tenant's money. This is not your money to spend as you see fit. So
yeah,
you have to set that aside. I mean, it's just good business to set it aside and make sure that it's not, and I say trust account, that is just a fancy name for saying an account that you only put deposits in or security deposits in and take it out. It doesn't have to be any special, we go down to, Wells Fargo or Chase and open up a separate, special whatever plan. It's just go open up a separate checking account underneath or checkings or savings account underneath your normal one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I did get my money back, by the way, eventually. But
Good.
Another question from Rebecca. Can you talk about working with collection agencies for past due rents? Yeah, I'm curious what the success rate of that is. I imagine it would be pretty low.
Very, very, very low. So that was one thing. That's one of the reasons I was trying to partner with Texas Eviction and Buildium. So Buildium is actually in the works of creating a collection streamlined process. It is extremely low to get anything. We use rent recovery service. Once you get above, the big guys, we only manage just under 50 units. But when you get like 400, 500, 600 units, you can actually get on the credit boards. So if you're working with a big property management company, they'll either join these boards and be able to put it on their report immediately. We use rent recovery service, and there's either a letter campaign that you can buy, or there's like a contingent campaign, meaning you give them 50% or whatever of the earnings. So the odds are really, really not that high of getting anything.
Imagine you could get a judgment on them.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. You can get
judgments are not really worth the paper they're written on. I mean, I can tell you in 20 years of owning my company, I went after one person to get past due, because we sold a property and we ended up losing money on it. This is like in 2009 when all the property values sank. And I've only done that one time. And the only reason I did it was because I knew this guy had money. I knew he had money, and he just decided to walk away from the deal because he knew he was going to lose money. So we hired a company, and we actually got paid, which was.
How much was it, Darel? Was it a significant amount?
I want to say I got a check for like $80,000, something like that.
See, so there's a good point. We're talking about maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't even do it, because you're going to spend money on attorneys to go chase it, and then so you're throwing good money after bad,
And that's the big thing. I mean, if I was chasing 80 grand, I would 100% go and get a judgment. If you're chasing $800, that's why I said we use a rent recovery service. They'll send some letters and make some demands and put it on their credit report. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, it's just not going to, the odds of success, just like Darel said, don't throw good money after bad. Spend it on making the repairs and getting the next tenant in there and updating your tenant screening process, which I think is coming up here.
That's the key.
Yeah. And so work with a great lease agent. That's number 8. So again, we have, like I said, if you're managing somebody else's property, you have to be licensed. But you can do, licensed agents in Texas can do anything. They can do property management. They can do leases. They can focus on buyers. They can focus on sellers. You would like to work with somebody, especially being new or just having, 1 or 2 properties. again, we get back to this, hiring professionals. This theme comes up a lot. Get somebody who does a lot of leases. Do not work with somebody who does sales, because I mean, I can't say they're not going to be good, but think about this. If they're going to sell a $300,000 house and get a $9,000 commission check versus half of the first month's rent, you know, $1,000, $1,500, you know, you're looking at set $500 to $750 versus $9,000. Which one do you think they're going to work harder for? You know, I mean, so lease agents that specialize in this will have some criteria, will be able to guide you through that process. They're knowledgeable about what to look for, maybe some red flags. They'll have some of the software to use to help screen their tenants. And like Darel and I were just talking about, the tenant screening up front is going to be your biggest preventer of all maintenance issues, of all issues down the road, is that initial screening. And we're dealing with a property in Texas City now that's taken a lot. It's been vacant for about 40 days, and we've had a lot of tenants, but they're not qualified. So we've had to have several conversations with the owner that, you know, he's getting a little frustrated, but the fact of the matter is we can put him in there, but you don't want to be kicking him out in 2 or 3 months. And then you're just spending more money. It might seem like we're not getting any money, but it really is just the discipline of sticking to your good criteria, and a great lease agent can help you do that. Number 9, have a plan for handling situations when you are not accessible. So you guys go out of town, people have vacations, they take breaks, holidays. Contact somebody from your vendors list, or somebody that you know you can trust, you can turn over some calls to. If you guys do a Google Voice number, you can transfer that number to anybody you would like. So if somebody, you know, a family friend or whatever, you can just say, hey, I'm going to direct calls over there. Pay them $100 or $200 for the week, month, whatever it is, to handle calls, and then call your contractor, or just try to get your contractor to handle it directly, and pay them a little bit of extra money. And that's one of the other biggest fears, is just you being able to walk away or step away from your phone, or go on a fishing trip or whatever it is, travel, and have to be on that phone or on your email 24/7. Property management software can help you with that. So if you go back to that step, I'm not sure again on some of these other softwares, but that will help streamline and send automatic tasks or maintenance requests to your contractors. So that's something that is really helpful for some of those property management softwares. And then the last one, 10, you know, figure out how do you want to spend your time. Again, I think this is more pertinent to the folks who are, you know, in a professional type of role. You know, their time valued at $200, $300, $400 an hour. You know, surgeons aren't doing property management. Doctors aren't doing property management. Successful business owners aren't doing property management, because, you know, you're paying somebody $100 a month to mess with the property, when you can save, you know, you're spending your time is valued at $300 or $400 an hour. When I first started, I was in my early 20s. I didn't value my time very much. So I spent a lot of time, you know, working on the properties and helping and trying to understand the process. And again, I think that's extremely helpful when you're first starting out, no matter what age you're at. But at some point, you'll have to make the business decision to say, do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to hand it over and turn over and focus on higher value tasks? So it just comes to that point at some point in time. And it's really that's all I have, guys. If there's other questions, I think with those 10 tips, I really do. If you guys set up your accounts, find some good contractors, you know, use the professionals when you need to for evictions, read the property code, find a software that works for you, and understand, you know, bookkeeping and your expenses. I think you guys, for 1 or 2, 3 properties, you guys will be fine. And it's really, once you start getting above that, that you'll have to start looking at your time and how you value that, and whether you should have somebody else look at it.
Okay, awesome. We do have a few questions here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Brianna says, what goes into being a property manager? Do you and your team have any licensing requirements? I think you covered that.
Yeah, we're licensed agents. We also are NARPM designated, so National Association of Residential Property Managers. That's just kind of an extra step above ethics and what have you, a little bit higher standard than just a normal agent. So we have all that.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Francisco says, hi, Cameron. I only have 2 rental units at this point, but had a real estate attorney advise me to get a membership with the HAA/TAA in order to use their lease agreements instead of writing my own. Any advice about that?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Since we're agents, we can use the Texas Association of Realtors, and then you go to an attorney and have them write up a lease how you would do it. It's not a bad idea. I'm not an attorney, so I don't, I told them what we want in the lease, and then the attorneys write it up for us in the way that meets all the property code and local rules and regulations. So you're on the right track. I think that I'm not specific on who that attorney is and their experience level, but attorneys, if they're advising you to do that, I would take that over my advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't write one myself, Francisco. That's a disaster waiting to happen if you have to end up in court with somebody. The longer you're in business, the more you realize everything you do that requires paperwork, you have to do it the right way, because you have to treat it as if one day you might end up looking at a judge with the other party looking at you, so you have to dot your I's, cross your T's. Huge believer in that. Someone's asking what your fees are, Cameron.
Yeah, so we do a flat fee service, and you guys can see that on our website at emersonpropertymanagement.com. We do a flat $125 a month for a basic service. Then we have $159 a month middle package, and then $199 a month. And it just basically steps up in what we offer, whether it's free inspections, eviction protection, stuff like that. So you guys can check that out at emersonpropertymanagement.com, and it'll say pricing. And you can look through all that. But we believe, I've never liked the percentage based, guys. It's one of those where I built Emerson Property Management because I was a rental property turned property manager. I had to do it, and I just couldn't find the folks that I liked that did it the way I did it. And I never liked the percentage basis. I always liked the flat fee.
I have a question for you. Has anything changed since COVID-19 as far as how you do your make readies or anything like that? Has anything changed just specific to that?
Darrell, the only things that have really come up are we just make sure our vendors, wear gloves, masks, whatever they can to make the tenant feel comfortable. So we have had a lot of scheduling things where, we had a tenant who was pregnant. She did not want anybody in the property. We totally understood that, and we worked around her schedule to get things done. I would just say as far as policies, procedures, it's really, some tenants are pretty lax. So, we really just cater to them and say, hey, if you put in a maintenance request, do you have anything specific that you would like? We have our vendors have masks, have gloves, take the proper precautions. Our showings are a little bit lighter. We don't like to do the group showings. That's one big thing. I think when you're first starting out in a non-COVID environment, if you can schedule everybody at one time, you kind of create a sense of urgency. So you'll get tenants to want to sign more quickly. But with COVID-19, having groups together looking at property is not a great idea. So staggering that is really the only other thing that's changed, Darrell. Not much.
Okay. See, Charity has a question. She says, do you put yard maintenance in your leases? Not that it's their responsibility, but trying to figure out how to enforce cutting it often.
So if you have I would assume the property is not in HOAs, because the HOAs do a pretty good job at, if the yard cutting is not done, that they'll send them a notice, and you get the notice as the owner or the property manager. And then we instate a $35 fee. If we get even an HOA notice, we instate that. So that lets tenants know from the get-go that we're not going to, just let the property go to hell. As far as yard maintenance, we say that the tenants need to water the yard. We have them take care of everything. We say the tenants need to water the yard enough to make it green, which is a big one because, sometimes it's twice a week or once a week, but, it's Houston. One day it's sunny and the next 8 days it's raining, and then it's, it's back to 100 degrees and then 60 degrees. So we just say enough to keep the lawn green. And I'm curious on how the grass is overgrown. If you drive by it, take a picture, and then you can say in your lease, hey, every time the yard is not cut or the yard doesn't look great, that this is a $35 or $25 fee or whatever it is. You can't really do that retroactively, but that's something to put in place for your next lease sign.
Okay. And I also have a question. I always hear people asking about pets. I don't know if you can allow or not allow pets, but they have these designated animals that are service animals, or, it seems like everybody, I need to get one for Bachelor probably because I take him everywhere I go. That way no one can give me hell about it. But how does that work now? Is anything changed on that front? I keep hearing that's an evolving thing.
It does evolve, and I think it's because, Darrell, it's the abuse. So you have the emotional support and the service animals.
Yes.
Those are not considered pets. So that's one big thing that folks do, is they try to put a pet fee on a service animal or emotional support animal, and that is not a pet. So in your lease where it says no pets, does not apply to any of that. There's a lot of legal information around that, and you guys just have to be very cognizant of, if they say they have an emotional support or an animal for some sort of condition that they have, you cannot get into many details with them, but you can request paperwork that they can verify that that is an emotional support or some animal that they need to have. You cannot put any fees, no extra deposits, nothing like that. But as long as they have some paperwork to approve, to validate that, then they're allowed to have the animal, even if you have a no pet policy.
So if you don't allow pets and somebody's living there and all of a sudden they have a dog and they say it's an emotional support animal, you can't do anything about it. Is that how? I'm curious, serious.
No. It's a good question. We've had that happen. They have to have documentation for that. So in your lease, you'll have something, or most people should have something that says, if you have a pet in there, then here's a fee. There's a $25 a day fee or an initial $250. But as long as they can provide that paperwork, there's nothing you can do. 100%.
Wow.
Whether that's a Doberman Pinscher.
I imagine you can't deny them the house either if they have an emotional support animal, even if you don't allow animals.
Correct. You cannot, an emotional support or service animal is not a pet, and none of your pet rules apply.
Wow, that's interesting.
If they have 10 pit bulls and they're all emotional support, I would find something else to deny them for. Because you can't deny them for the animals. You cannot do it.
Wow, that's interesting. Huh. That could be a sticky situation, but yeah, I've heard you can't really question them about it at all.
The only thing you can ask for is the documentation that they have from a physician or their certification or licensing, for that animal. But that's not, you cannot get into what the condition is. If you're suspicious, nope, that cannot happen.
Okay, Shana put a question. It's kind of a long question, so stick with me. Thanks for addressing the pet concern. Definitely something we've been talking about. Having 3 dogs, we obviously support and love dogs, but as property owners, we're not sure. She said, what about lease terms? 1 year, 2 year to start out? Would you recommend we bring on tenants for 1 year with opportunity to renew? We are also owner occupied. If you have any thoughts on that, I assume fair housing laws such as in Maine. Also, now I'm thinking we're using a lease agent, especially as this will be our first time. We're thinking about using a template and doing our homework, but I would hate to forget something and pay for it.
Yeah, no, that's Shannon, that's a very good point. So if you're new and you don't have a really robust screening process, I would 100% go with a shorter lease term. If you get a tenant in there and you don't like them and they're tearing stuff up, you don't want to be stuck with them for 2 years. You'd rather be stuck with them for a year and then discuss on the renewal, hey, here's our new lease you're going to sign. And these are the things we can outline that we need to improve on, that, highlight the changes versus, you're going to be stuck with it for 2 years. Even if you want to have some things lined out in your lease that you see as soon as they get in there, there's nothing you can do. You have to stick with that lease till the end of the 2 years. Something else, rental values have not dropped. So during this COVID thing, we have not seen rental rates drop. They're all been either flat or increasing. So if you think that your area is a hot area and that rental rates are going to go up, it actually behooves you to do the 1 year lease. Stick with the 1 year lease so you can renew and increase the value at renewal.
Good call. Yeah, there's a lot of change in Westbrook, so we've been looking at other places that are comparable, but we're not there yet. But I think by the time we are, it will probably go up even more. So good point.
Yeah, that's something that, and you can write your lease such that, I'm not sure about Maine, so I'll speak here, loosely, but you can write in your lease renewal rates already. That, hey, automatically, we always give tenants options. It's why there's a small, medium, large. It's why everybody has a multiple option service. So we do a month-to-month price, we have a 6-month price, and we have a year price. And then they can pick from that. Each has its different rental rate associated with it. But you can do that kind of ahead of time and try to do, say, 1% increase, 2 or 4. But again, if you're in such a dynamic area and you think it's going to go up, I would just leave it alone and then do your analysis, your CMA at the end of the term, and then bump it up to fair market rent.
Okay. And well, we're also planning on doing our research because it will be owner occupied. We'll still be here. We'll build we'll rent out the new unit and we'll be moving into the other one that we're going to renovate too. So I know that fair housing, you'd have to be careful when you're screening tenants to not, overstep and.
We actually share ours. So Shanna, you can get on ours on emersonpropertymanagement.com and go to, it'll say residence, and you can find our screening criteria. It's our application process. And, you can feel free to steal whatever information or borrow, use whatever, and modify it, because you just want to make sure it's black and white. It's clear. You want to make sure you have strict, clear criteria. You don't want to say something is, we need decent credit history. We need this, or you want to just be, hey, we need a 500 or 600 minimum credit score, or whatever it is. Just make sure it's clear and it applies to all tenants, and that'll keep you out of the fair housing stuff.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I think we're out of time here. That was great, very informational, lots of compliments in the chat box here. Real quick for you guys that are on, our next REV Network is on September 22nd with Don Scott. That's going to be actually a happy hour, so we're going to do it in the evening. I think it starts at 7. 2 weeks after that, we have Fallon Huff, who's an investor, a good friend of mine as well. She's going to be on doing her presentation. That's going to be 11 o'clock. But for any of you that registered for our webinar with Jason Bible, which was going to be on September 15th, we have now moved that to October 20th. We sent out an email, but just want to remind you. So thank you for joining us. Everybody say congratulations to Courtney, who is our marketing person here. She had her baby yesterday. We've been waiting for that to happen. And so Bridget, who was her first time doing it, did a great job today. So I have to give her a shout out. She showed up like 40 minutes early to do the Zoom. And I'm like, Bridget, I'm still working. She's like, well, I just already. And I'm like, okay, you can sit over there and wait till about 5 till so I get over there. But
oh yeah, she was on me too, Darel. You trained her well.
I know. So I told her she's like that little girl that shows up to school before it's even open. The teacher's like, you got to wait outside. Anyway, so yeah, congrats to Courtney. She had a beautiful baby boy. Joshua is his name. So anyway, we'll see you guys at our next event in 2 weeks. Thank you. And thank you again, Cameron.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darel. Appreciate it all.
All right. Bye-bye.